I could like sort of sense that something was starting to shift within me, but I wasn't there yet. So during the break, I was talking to my friends, and as I was just telling them that if we go back in there and she approaches me and delivers messages that I see as true, then my reality will shift. So after the break, I was like really, really eager. And I was like, okay, pick me. And then after a while, I was like, oh, no, don't pick me. This is starting to feel awkward. Is she going to out me in the audience, and everybody's going to know about all my personal details? I'm like, oh, no, I don't want this any longer. And of course, then she approached me. Yeah, I was the pick. And there were information that I was like, okay, yeah, I haven't told anyone about this. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Hello, my friends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to hit that like button and share the video with your friends. Please support the channel if you can. I appreciate all the support. You can become a Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or you can make a one-off donation via PayPal if you wish. All the links are in the description box below. Thank you. Hi and welcome everyone, and welcome Ylva Wegler.
Thank you. Pleasure being here.
So nice to have you here, my friend.
Thank you for inviting me.
The miracle woman.
Yes.
That's you, right?
Yeah, so they say.
So they say. Yeah, we're going to talk more about that in a while. You have a fascinating and inspiring journey behind you. But before we will delve into that, of course. But before we do that, I want to kind of begin to talk about the Ylva of today. The Ylva of today, who is a person who helps fellow humans on their journeys.
Yes.
In different ways. And you are...
Best job ever.
Best job ever.
Yeah.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So you are... you're a therapist, or would you rather call yourself a healer, or what would you be? What would be the definition?
I would go with therapist.
Therapist.
Yeah.
Right.
Healing is such a huge subject.
It is.
Yeah.
But it is healing also in a way. But okay,
Absolutely.
let's go with therapist, and you have different modes of therapy that you're employing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, the most, I guess, would say intriguing one to lay people perhaps, is hypnosis, hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
And I would suspect that to most people, hypnosis still sounds a little bit far out or woo, or even a bit scary. But I found this article actually in the American, what's its name now? American Psychological Association, and it says the following: hypnosis is as old as the field of psychotherapy itself, but today advocates pointing to its evidence base say it deserves a fresh look and a much wider audience. Research has shown evidence that post-hypnotic suggestion can elicit striking changes in perception and behavior. So that sounds pretty good in my ears.
Yeah, it is.
So what about hypnotherapy? How do you do it, and how does it work? What are your results from using this?
Well, I start backwards then, because the results are amazing. And I have a really high hit rate with my clients. I can never guarantee a result, never, because we all have our unique journeys. But I think my best ingredients in my sessions is that I'm very good at creating a really safe space for my clients, and I also have a lot of experience myself with grief, different kind of losses, different kind of abuse. So in a kind of lovingly, jokingly way, I say that I'm an excellent grief recoverer, because I have so much experience in the field, like personal experience.
Yeah.
But well, the sessions, if you take like the practical part, we start off with a a conversation, like just a nice chat to cover the story of the client. And I also share something from my own life. So we use this beautiful phenomena to, if I open my heart, it's easier for the client to open their hearts.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that's actually what I was missing when I was in traditional therapy myself. I was in the normal healthcare and had a quite unique opportunity. I got the chance to go in therapy for 2 years and 2 sessions per week, and that's quite a lot, right?
Mm.
But I never got the healing that I needed from that therapy. But I learned a lot from that, and one of the biggest parts is just the fact that if you open your heart and you share something painful, then you know if someone does that with you, it's somehow automatic that you start thinking about an own personal experience, or even you start talking about it.
Yeah.
And I like that.
It's almost irresistible when somebody opens up.
Exactly.
It's almost as you need to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Unless you're a psychopath or something.
Yes. And hopefully I'm not. So I use that phenomena, and there's also beautiful studies of that. That to create that beautiful, loving, safe space to open your heart, and in that way you open your clients' hearts. But that's not how I started it. It was actually when I had the education for becoming a grief recoverer. That's the technique that they are using.
Another kind of therapy that you're employing as well.
And I also integrated that in the hypnotherapy today, because the hypnosis goes way much deeper and more multi-dimensional. So I like working with that. But then we have the little chat, and then we do the induction for the hypnotherapy. And
what is that induction?
The induction is actually sort of the way into the deeper brain waves that we want to use. So if we talk about the scary part, that people might have an expectation of that, oh my God, the hypnosis is scary and is woo-woo and all that.
Yeah, it's just going to change my personality.
Exactly.
I'm going to think I'm somebody else when I get out of here.
Yeah. So maybe you've seen people turn into chickens on stage, or you had a traditional pendulum.
Exactly.
And we're not doing that.
Thankfully. Thankfully.
But I think it's quite interesting because it was it's not that long time ago. There was a film here in Sweden, I think. It was called the Hypnosis. Do you know it?
The Hypnotist, maybe, or
maybe the Hypnotist, or the Hypnosis, or something like that.
I've seen something like that, but I'm just I'm not sure I've seen it, but the actual movie. But I've probably seen the title.
Yeah, and I had quite a few people calling me. And they were like, oh, is it like that when you go into hypnosis? And I haven't seen the movie. So I actually saw it a couple of days ago. And that was like the classical, people turn really, really weird after one hypnosis session. And it's quite sad, because when looking into my own story, hypnosis has changed. It changed my life, really. Grief recovery and hypnosis really changed my life. And I think it's sad that it has this kind of bad label quite a lot still. I think it's changing. It is changing. I know that.
According to this article in the American Psychological Association, they seem to be pretty positive.
Yeah. And in Sweden, we're kind of behind there.
Okay.
So congrats to the States.
Right, but so how does it work then? I mean, you put your client in a certain state.
Yes.
Brainwave state, or how would you describe it?
Yeah.
And is it by talking with the client, or do you use other means like your hands or music or certain ambience or something?
You can use different kind of tools. But I believe in our capacity as human beings. We have a beautiful ways of getting into these states, and we want to use a different brain wave. And it's not more mystical or difficult than actually the state that you end up in just before you wake up and just before you go to sleep.
That's called the hypnagogue state, is it?
Yeah. And it's a similar state when you get into in deep meditation. And my favorite induction, the induction is the way to get into the hypnotic state. And one way to get there is actually to either, if the client already has a feeling or an emotion that they want to work with, or we actually create that emotion or bring it up by going back to a memory, whatever, or if it's situations in lives that is bothering them. Might be at work or in relationships or whatever.
So how many sessions do you normally give to one client?
Oh, that depends.
Depends very much, I guess.
So I think most of my clients, they come once. And for the same issue, like maybe a maximum of 3 sessions. But I tend to have quite like a little longer sessions. So I work with my clients in about 2.5, 3 hours. And I use a quite particular technique that I have developed over the years. And it's quite successful. So I'm really, really grateful.
So even after one session, a lot of things can happen. I mean,
absolutely.
That you sit with the client for 2.5, 3 hours, I suppose a lot of things can happen. So what is it?
I had a young guy, and he had been in traditional therapy for since he was 18, and he was 25 when he came to me. And of course, being aware of the issue that he was working with is a great deal, a big part of the healing. But we actually solved his problem in one session. And he was like amazed. And he was like, I've never talked to my therapist about this in this way before. And I did it with you in one session. So he was pretty amazed. And of course, it's my ability to create a safe space, but the hypnosis, the hypnotherapy is beyond words. I'm still so amazed with the results. And but I think also a big part of my success rate is that I trained myself to step out of my own way. So I sort of put my limited self aside, and I just let my unlimited self work with the client's unlimited self, and then we're like rocking.
So maybe would it be fair to say that you also kind of enter another state of being, a state of consciousness when you work with the client, and you hypnotize yourself, as it were, a little bit as well?
Yeah.
So you're both in a different state. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is it that is happening, would you say, in the mind of the people who are involved in a hypnotherapy session?
And how do you mean with that? What happens?
Could you describe it by way of talking about like brain waves or minds, or maybe there are some metaphors you could use or something? I don't know. How do when people ask you how does this work?
Yeah. Okay.
In my body and soul, what do you tell them?
Well, the main principle is that we want to get the controlling part of us to relax, because it's the control that belongs to your limited self, right? So if the control is still blocking, you won't be able to enter your, like, whatever you call it, your unlimited self or your inner self or your intuition. And people that is in a lot of fear and control, they tend to stay in their head, and they might even have like ADHD symptoms, because they're never able to relax. But I have a lot of clients that actually get rid of those symptoms. They heal from it when they actually learn to connect with their body and their true self, their inner self, and just being aware of what's blocking and also releasing that.
So it's something that's happening in your whole body, would you say, or it's not just in your head? that things change. It's do you have to engage your whole body in this process when you relax?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And the easiest way to actually access your intuition, for me, that's how I look at it, is actually through your body and through your emotions. Because often my clients, they come with a sort of a expectation how this will work and how it will unfold. And mostly it's not like that, because you have an idea of that you might see everything in the session like a movie, or you need to have a lot of pictures, and you sort of have to know things almost like you are in real life, but that's not how it works. So I'm very well, I want to connect my clients with their body. I want to connect them with their emotions and feelings, because that's often like the chain that is so weak, because we're trained to do a lot of things. We're controlling the outcome, everything, and we're not so connected with our bodies and emotions.
True.
And I've been there.
Words.
I've had a great journey in that process. So I actually encourage my clients to more feel your body during the whole session. And I'm encouraging them to let go of pictures, movies, whatever. But when you're actually focusing on the emotions or feelings, or the sort of blocks that you can experience in your body, then the pictures, they sort of come spontaneously. And that's through your intuition. And when they come through the intuition, then you never have to question whether this is real or if you hit the right spot or whatever, or because it's so often that we're so used to being this doing state.
Exactly.
So even my clients, they're in this little good girl, good boy, and we have to be really alert and aware, and you almost have to have solved the problems before you come to me as a therapist. And so we need to get that part to relax as well. So there's a lot of compassion, self-compassion, self-love, and a lot of ease. So many times clients think that the session must be really hard and painful. Sometimes it is, mostly not, because it's actually sort of the resistance of what you experience. That's the real issue today. And
preconceptions, prejudice about hypnosis, I guess.
Yes.
In many people.
There's a lot of control, a lot of fears.
Yeah.
Unnecessary fears.
There is one kind of hypnosis called quantum hypnosis therapy. Quantum hypnosis healing therapy, something QHHT, which involves, sometimes at least, people remembering parallel lives or previous lives or whatever you want to call it. Is that something that you also experience in your sessions? Or
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm more curious about time. Like, we sort of saw the time as a linear thing, but I'm more curious about time as like dimensional.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of like past life experiences, but I'm
yourself
also,
or you?
Yeah, myself and clients, and it's really common. But when I was investigating this, and I was really curious about this, is it past lives or is it something else?
Yeah.
And then I had a young girl. She was 19, and she had like a really clear picture of sort of a past life. That most people would just describe it as.
Yeah.
But I actually asked her in a really neutral way what she was actually experiencing. And she was like, in 0.1 second, she was like, well, this is my brother and my father in another dimension. And I was like, yes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
because
really
I
cool.
trust the young ones.
Yeah.
I really do. They're super
They're
cool.
not as destroyed in their minds.
Exactly.
Just as yet.
And they're born into a completely different energy than us old people.
Yeah, that's fascinating to hear. Yeah, I'm also curious as to what that actually is. I mean, previous lives, parallel lives, past lives. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just we tap into other lives, or as she said, then other dimensions, and that's what's happening. And it really doesn't matter, does it?
It doesn't. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Because I completely let go of all the labels and musts and, all the... Because even in therapy and stuff like that, you have sort of like a hierarchy and things are supposed to be in the same exact way. And I don't believe in that, because then you lose your touch with the connection with your intuition and actually the greater power, the higher power that we're all connected with. And that's also how I can tap into my client's energy field. And I'm also open to that it's actually just different part of ourselves that we're experiencing.
Yeah. Which it probably is, because I mean, if there are parallel lives and other lives, we have, of course, experienced many of those. And if time doesn't exist, if it's not linear, then it's all going on at the same time, simultaneously. So,
and
why
that's
not?
why we can do these quantum leaps.
Exactly.
And that's how our client can change like a whole program or paradigm in one session. And sometimes it still blows my mind. It's
amazing.
Awesome.
It's amazing to hear.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, actually. I didn't realize that it could take only one session sometimes. So beautiful. Ylva, you're not only helping people to evolve on their journeys, you also want to contribute to creating a better world.
Yes.
And world peace is the end goal.
Absolutely.
As far as I understand.
Yes.
Which is a very laudable goal, I must say. So you have this wonderful Mastodon project where you invite dozens, if not hundreds of people to tell their stories about miracles or what they perceive as miracles. And you publish these stories in a series of books. I think you published, is it 5 books now? And
yes.
It's going to be 7.
Yeah. So we're releasing two more this year.
2 more this year? Okay.
Yeah.
So then will be the full set, the full rainbow.
Yes.
Because they have the colors of the rainbow on the front there. Yeah.
That's
fantastic.
how the inspiration came through to me.
Miracle Cure for the Soul is the translation of the title. So tell us about that project. It's a very big project. How did it start, and how did you come up with that idea?
Well, my limited self can absolutely not take the credits for that.
Okay, but the unlimited Ylva.
Yes, and the courage of my limited self, definitely. It's a beautiful, great project, and I'm really, 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 really grateful for it. And the story began, well, probably eons of times ago, but in this lifetime, I don't know really where to start. I've been on like the inner journey for like 23 years.
Yeah, we'll get back to that.
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it wasn't like one day, like the inspiration came, because I can also see that everything that I've done over the years has actually led up to that exact moment. All my experiences, all the pain, all the education I have, and all the experiences. But the inspiration actually came through during the pandemic. And I had been out on a journey. I did the Camino.
In northern Spain.
Yes. So I walked from France over the Pyrenees and through the whole of Spain and out to the coast, the beautiful coast, and passing Santiago de Compostela, like the main goal.
Exactamente.
So it was like 920 kilometers.
Wow.
And I sort of thought that I had did my in Swedish is mandomsprov. Do you know the word for it in English?
The ultimate trial, or the
we can say that, the ultimate trial. That will like work. That. Yeah. In like trust. So I was like dedicating this walk to gain more trust in myself and in the higher intelligence, and I just didn't use any guidebooks. I just followed my intuition in where I was gonna sleep, eat, walk. I followed the little beautiful yellow arrows in the Camino. Nothing more than that. And I had so many beautiful experiences, and I was proven, like beyond proven, of what I was capable of creating in my life, like miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle, in the little and in the big. And then I got back to Sweden, and I was like, well, I did the final trial. Now I'm complete. I'm done. Now this is awesome.
Yeah.
Because I had the proof that I asked for proof, like, but like the proofs were so excellently designed. So I got even more knowledge about like the human being and our capacity. But when I got back to Sweden, I actually I lost my my job, my financial security, and I know from my journey and also like my trust journey that I had two choices. Either I just lose myself in fear. It was the pandemic. There were more, there was more restraints, and I wasn't working full time with the hypnosis. I had this part-time job to kind of secure my finances, and it wasn't that easy to get a lot of new clients during that period as well.
Right, right. So you lost that job.
Yeah, and so I had to choose between fear or trust. So I actually went out.
You chose fear.
Yeah, I choose fear. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. No, not exactly.
No. So I actually choose to go out and I went out to celebrate that same evening. And I actually checked into a spa because I was like, have a conversation with myself and the higher intelligence. Like, okay, so how can I prove that I'm going to go on the trust path?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to check into a spa. I'm going to spend that money on myself. And it's like, I am in the abundance energy.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And it actually happened a little miracle in that as well, because like days after, I had a phone call from Germany from a woman that I hardly met. I was in the same group as her on a big event, Joe Dispenza event in Dubai, and there were like 60 people there, and we were not concentrating on each other. We were concentrating on the work and Joe Dispenza. But somehow I posted something in that group because I was thinking the only people that would understand my actions was actually the people in that group, because they would understand what I was doing. Yeah. And they did. They were cheering me on. It's like, yeah, that's a way to go. You're going to fix this. You've got this, girl. And she just called me, and she was telling like a beautiful story. And I think I'm guided to tell you about this story as well, because that's a beautiful part in the project as well. Because I often tell stories to my clients and to people all around me. If I see a person that need a shift in their lives, I know that the first part is that you somehow have to start. You have to like look it up, like
dissolve, or
sort of dissolve, or helping them to dissolve like their reality, the reality they're seeing right now. So you have to help them like to make the shift, and the true story is like the absolute best medicine for that. So I'm a great storyteller. I love sharing stories, and that's what the whole project is about. That's my awakening hypnosis for the world. And so I know I'm a storyteller, and that's one of my gifts to the world and the people all around me. And I've inspired a lot of people through my own stories to get their dream jobs, dream apartments, and so on. So when this woman calls me, the first thing that comes to my mind is like, I'm getting like really, really grateful that this woman is taking her time to tell me this beautiful, true story. She was starting to tell me something about that there was a girl owning her money, and she didn't get it back, and she started doing like a deal with God. And I was like, oh, she's going to inspire me to make a deal with God. What kind of deal with God can I make? And then she just said like, well, and then I made this deal with God, and I just knew that if I got this money back, then I would give it away to someone else, and I would know exactly the time and the place and the person. And then she paused, and I was like really eager and excited, like, oh, what happened?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, what could my deal with God be? And then after a long pause, she was like, but it's you. I was like, what?
What an amazing ending to that story.
So I got the money back for the spa treatments and the stay and more. And it gives me like the like beautiful shivers all over my body, because that's such a beautiful proof that what happens when we surrender to trust, but also because I'm brought up with you have to do a lot, and often you have to do twice as much as you're gonna receive. Like, and for me, that I was actually able to do something that I really enjoyed, that gave me pleasure. I could really like celebrate myself in some way, and I actually got to receive while doing that. That was like, that's a beautiful moment in my life, and I'm like cherishing that, and keep reminding me of it.
Yeah, because it's difficult for us Westerners in particular, I guess, to just receive without having to give anything in return.
Yeah,
it's really difficult.
Yeah,
but you learned to do that there, and you accepted it, and you cherished it, as you say.
Yes, definitely. And I have been practicing, of course, before, but that was beautiful proof. I just love it. So, because you asked me how the project
the
came
book series,
through. Yeah,
all
exactly.
These beautiful
so I'm leading up to that. Trust me.
Okay,
I tend to take some turns away from it. So then I just got this feeling from my intuition that I had to keep still for quite some period of time. And if I knew that time period was 6 months, maybe I wouldn't have been able to keep that calm as I did, sort of ish. I don't know. I would have done it again, I guess, but it was really, really hard, because like one part of myself was in a lot of fear, and I had to work with that fear. I have to like, that was actually the practice I had to do during that time. I had to be aware of all my fears, the fears in the collective, and I worked through them. I released them, and I did so much inner work during that time, and a lot of meditation. I spent a lot of time in nature, and maybe after some 3 months, I started sort of getting that there was something else wanting to come through, and my mission was really to completely let go of the old paradigm about money and who I thought I was before that. And so I had this sense of that something new was going to come through, but I still didn't know what. And then after about 6 months, in a really long contemplation, I had the inspiration for the project, the Miracle Cure for the Soul. And it came through as an energy of the rainbow, and it just said that everything is possible. And that's really what I've been
that's
working
what it's all about.
on.
But it's
it
very,
is.
Compact. It's concise.
Yeah.
Everything is possible, and then the rainbow.
Yeah.
So how did you manifest that? How did you concretize that into what it actually became?
Well, I knew it had to do with stories.
Okay.
And some call it the law of attraction, or we talk about trust, or just the collaboration with the higher intelligence. Yeah. So that I knew. And I had written in some other books before about personal development. And so I had a connection with a publicist. So I just invited her to lunch, and I presented the idea, the project, and she just said yes. And then the first book was published. I think we had a toast in April, and the first book was published in November. And then we had 25 authors, so 25 people that had actually shared their story in the book. And we also have the most amazing artist making the.
Yeah.
It's quite a beauty.
Yeah, this is the latest one. The blue one, number 5. Yeah, the artwork is beautiful.
Yeah. And that connection I had from before as well.
Yeah.
But it's like everything just came together to the most like beautiful project ever. And in the beginning I was saying like, oh, I can really see how the project is growing. And I was like, nah, that doesn't resonate with me. There is something wrong with that sentence.
Yeah,
and I was like, no, I
can definitely see how it's growing.
No, because it wasn't growing. It was actually me that more and more could see how big the project was. So I just realized, well, this is just a huge, beautiful download. All the authors are really, they're already here. The stories are already here. They're sort of already published in some other kind of dimension.
Of course.
So
it's already there. Yeah.
I'm just here watching it unfold. So my biggest like the mission for me is actually to follow and have the courage to do all the crazy stuff that I'm being told to do.
Yeah. And it's not only this amazing book series, which is a mastodon project.
Yeah.
You also are arranging this event, this mastodon event called the Miracle Day.
Yes.
And I was there in November.
Yeah, so I'm so grateful for that. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's so I mean, how do you manage to pull all these things through?
I don't know.
But that idea also came to you during that same time or some time after?
Yeah, it unfolded in the process. Yeah. And I have beautiful people with me in the project as well, and I have my publicist. We did the Miracle Day together at Oscarsteatern, a beautiful stage in Stockholm.
Yeah.
Yvonne at the publisher's house, Förlagshuset Siljans Måsar. And the Miracle Day actually came through with during a conversation with a friend, and I was like, well, like all these miracles, and I was talking about the project and my mission, and he saw my drive and everything, and he was like, but I'm sort of missing a Miracle Day. So yeah, definitely. So I was like, it just clicked in me. So my mission is to get it into the calendar, and so we did the first Miracle Day like in a little smaller version the year before last, and the big event we had last year, and we're doing it again this year
in November.
Yes, the 11th of
11/11.
Yes, definitely
the 11/11 portal.
Excellent
date to have that. Yeah. So
I couldn't do it alone, but it's a lot of work. I
understand that.
Yeah.
But still, I mean,
but people are so amazing, and I have people like working for the project for free because they love it. They believe in me. They believe in the project, and so I've had so much support from the start. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And there were like several podcasts contacting me. I didn't have to chase them. So I ended up in 6-7 podcasts in so many miraculous ways, just from the start, and then it just continued, and then I'm here with you. It's also so beautiful.
It's like you say, it's unfolding, and you're just watching it unfold.
Yeah. And I'm giving myself the credits of having the courage to follow.
Of course.
Because it had challenged my own fears in so many ways. Yeah. Like I had stage fright, for an example, and I was so nervous before podcasts and everything, and I had to work through all those fears.
Well, that didn't show when I visited. I mean, when I was at the Miracle Day event. I mean, you were there on stage, glowing.
Excellent, and, thank you. Yeah, it was a beautiful moment. I love that, actually.
Yeah. And talking about this book series, it's of course also has to be said that it's uplifting to just encourage and help people who think they have a story to tell to get it out there.
Yes.
To have it published, to have it written down.
Yeah, and to get the education in the project as well.
Commendable.
It is.
Feat, isn't it?
It's great fun, and people are connecting, coming together for this shift that we're doing, and that we're making in the world, that we're creating, actually. So me, you, sitting here.
Yeah,
that's
we're doing
beautiful.
it together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, well, your background and other stuff. And it just came to me that talking about miracles here, I wrote an essay some time ago where I claimed that either everything is meaningful or nothing is meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And my reasoning for saying that was that it's not really possible to delineate between what could be meaningful and what could be meaningless, because then you end up in a transition zone which is impossible to define. So either everything is meaningful or it's meaningless. But why I'm saying this is that I want to ask you about miracles then, because I mean, many of these stories can come across as kind of mundane maybe, and some are really amazing. But I mean, everything is. It all comes down to how you experience it and how you interpret it when you experience it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that everything is a miracle? Is life a miracle? What is a miracle? How would you define a miracle? If I mean, because you're using it in the book series and in the event. So do you have a definition for it, or is it just something that we can all enjoy?
And we can definitely enjoy the miracles.
Yeah,
definitely. And to me, it's all about the state, the inner state. That's what we can create from, and we choose that state over and over and over and over again. So to me, it's all about the inner state and how we're sort of being aware of our thoughts, because the thought sort of births the feeling, and then the feeling sort of creates the state that we're walking around in most of the time. So the state is absolute key. And there is a definition for miracles. And in Wikipedia is something like something extraordinary that you can't really maybe explain from the science way or point of view. And it sort of have to have God or some higher power involved. And that's where it gets interesting, because you can look at in higher intelligence or God or whatever you want to call it. I'm not fond of the labels. I sort of delabel everything.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, and the project is also free from labels. The people that shares the story, they do it, and they use the names and labels that they want to, and they're free to do whatever. But to me, actually, it wasn't about miracles from the start. To me, it was the proof that we're something more than our physical bodies. And to me, this higher intelligence or God or whatever, that's something that we're connected with all the time. It's like a part of me. That's how I see it today. I haven't always seen it like that. And if we all have some sort of spark in some way, some say that we are God, some say that we have a part of God within us. And I'm still learning every day, so I'm not coming with any truth at all. But today I see it I'm somehow connected with this intelligence. And I have a beautiful, great ability to actually empower my life and to create my life in the direction that I want to. And the more we start seeing that and learning that and get the proof that we need, the more secure, calm, more harmonious we get. And the end result is more loving, beautiful world and world peace. And that's what my whole work is all about. And I actually listened to Deepak Chopra this morning. He started a 21-day meditation. 21-day meditation
series or
sort of
program or something.
Yes. Yeah. And he was talking about miracles.
Ah, okay.
And he said that miracle, like the word miracles, had a root in Latin from mirare.
Yeah.
And if I remember
look.
correctly, is something about like focusing.
Oh, yeah.
Like what you choose to see. So if you keep open to see the miracles, you definitely see them like every day. And as you said, the stories some are like just an ordinary day happening, but it came maybe from a shift of mindset, maybe it came from a prayer, maybe it came from just being in a state of believing, because they all tell about something like extraordinary.
Yeah.
So it's in the small and in the big, like people that been saved from death, like in some beautiful, extraordinary happenings.
And most people would say it's a coincidence, of course, but there are no coincidences.
Some will, and some maybe just need that particular story to actually wake up, and then we have one more person for that beautiful world that we all want.
Exactly. So, Ylva, who was the Ylva of 20 years ago? How did she end up trying to achieve world peace and helping people on their journeys with therapy like you are today?
Well, 23 years ago, I had my first daughter, my eldest daughter, and I ended up in a postpartum depression. And I didn't get the diagnosis until 5 years later, and I had my second daughter. She's 2 years older than 2 years younger, sorry. So I actually had my youngest daughter in between there. And I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what. And the doctors never, because I visited like different kind of doctors and everything during these 5 years, and no one actually gave me a diagnosis. Nobody knew what was wrong. I was just in tears in all the appointments. So that's kind of a mystery, but yeah, that's what happens. And so I actually started my career in like a big black hole. I lost my will to live, and I had my 4-month-old daughter in front of me, and I had two voices in my head. One was like really, really clear, just end your life, like you don't want to live. There's no point. And it was like the clearest thought ever. And I also had another voice that said that there's something really, really wrong here. And I choose to follow that voice. And yeah, you heard me telling you about the therapy that didn't work for me. So I had to start to look for my ways. And that's what I've been doing for 23 years.
But you didn't have any spiritual background, upbringing in the spiritual realm or anything like that.
Quite the contrary.
You have quite the contrary, and you have a background in the health industry or something like that. Or am I wrong there?
Yeah, but that actually came after my awakening.
Okay.
So I had a.
So what were you thinking of becoming or doing before all of this happened that changed you so profoundly?
Well, I've worked with a lot of different kind of jobs. I was an English teacher in Mexico. I worked in a circus. I worked in bars, casinos. I was a croupier. I've done a lot of stuff, and I worked as a security guard. So I've done a lot. And then,
what was your life view then? Did you were you happy then, or was there something in you that kind of, as you can see when you look upon it today?
Yeah.
You can remember that there was something that was kind of, itching, or something wasn't really truly good or something.
I was in a lot of fleeing. I was in like a fight and flight mode. So the first chance I had, I moved abroad, and I just did a lot of things.
Yeah,
but
I think that's common actually for people who
it is.
feel that there's something wrong. They just go away.
Yeah,
they flee.
Yeah, because you sort of kind of try to run away from your emotions that are too hard to connect with. Because during my childhood, my mother had psychotic like periods, because the couldn't really diagnose her with psychosis, because it was some part like missing. But when she later started to work with her personal development, she learned about spiritual emergency, and that's actually, you sort of open up too quickly to like the whatever, like the, when you're channeling or the higher intelligence, or you're broadening your reality a bit too quick.
You take away the veil too quickly.
Exactly. Yeah. So she didn't get the help that she needed. So we all thought that she was like mentally ill. But if the healthcare had another capacity and understanding, she might not have had that diagnosis at all. But that was the truth during my childhood.
Mm.
And sorry, what was the question again?
Well, I just asked who you were 23 years ago.
Yeah, sorry, huge question.
Yeah, but yeah, I know. But so here you are, and you have this background, and you also said before, told me before, or if you wrote in the pre-interview form or something, I can't remember, that something happened to you during the pandemic. Maybe that was what you were telling us about before. That had that would normally have been called a failure, but it turned out to be a transformative experience, and that was when you lost your job there. Or,
yeah.
Okay, so
it was.
That's a transformative experience.
Yes, but I also had like the awakening experience.
Okay,
and that's actually what shifted my reality, like my view on reality.
What happened during that seance that you attended?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, tell us about that.
So that was about 2005.
Okay.
So I had my eldest daughter 2001.
So you were in the midst of this depression period?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
And I think like spirituality sort of came into my life around 2008. So it's somewhere about that period that, because I had a relative, actually two relatives, without naming them, but they had a great deal in this event, because I thought everything about this was like woo-hoo. It was really strange. I thought they were really weird. Sorry. And today I'm the weird one.
Yeah. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, thank you. But during that seance, I really had my reality challenged, my view on reality. And to make a long story short, the seance was in two parts. So we had a little break in between. And in the first part, actually, because I had been to a seance once before. And it was also a relative that brought me there, because she sort of wanted to wake me. It failed. Like really failed. And all that I got during that seance was proof that it doesn't work. It was just a woo-woo, and no, not for me.
But one time is no time.
Yeah, and this might sound a bit judgmental, and probably because it is, but that woman, she had this gray stripy hair, and she had those big white clothings, and to me that was like, okay, here we go again.
Yeah.
And it wasn't good. I can sort of sense that with the people in the seance, and it just didn't feel like the messages that came through was like really spot on. I could tell from how it was received. But then this other seance, like the universe was like, okay, here we go. No,
we're going to test her.
Yes, now we're going to really shake her up here. So we were 11 people in this seance. And so we were like the majority of the people in the room. And some of the people I knew really well. One person was my mom. One of them was my mom. And and also this medium, she was like really nicely dressed. She had this like suit on, and she was wearing makeup, and she looked like really professional. And like that was like,
Different
there's
vibe.
something different here. And when she was speaking then in the first part, she was like, when she was channeling, it was really rapid, it was so accurate, and I could see the people receiving the messages. It was like they were sort of like ducking. It was like, ooh, it was sort of getting uncomfortable because it was
So
like the truth.
She was conveying messages to each and every one?
Not each and every one,
or?
I think, but a lot of people.
Okay.
So in the first part, she had approached my mother and some of the people that I knew quite well. And my mother I knew, of course, really well. And so particularly with my mother, because in my mind, what was going on was like, okay, could my relative had sort of prepped this medium with all the information?
Yeah.
So, could it be a scam still?
Yeah.
But it was too quick. It was too
detailed,
much.
maybe.
Yeah, it was detailed, and it was also details about my mother that I was like, I don't think my mother would have shared this with my relative.
No.
So it's like, okay, there's something different here, and sort of like when we're nearing the pause, the break, I was like, okay. I could like sort of sense that something was starting to shift within me, but I wasn't there yet. And I knew that there had to be some sort of event before I could actually make that shift, but I could start sensing that shift. So it was quite interesting. Yeah. So during the break, I was talking to my friends, and as I was just telling them that like, okay, if we go back in there and she approaches me and delivers messages that I see as true, that are correct, then my reality will shift. So after the break, I was like really, really eager. And I was like, okay, pick me. And then after a while, I was like, oh, no, don't pick me. This is starting to feel awkward. Is she going to out me in the audience, and everybody's going to know about all my personal details? I'm like, oh, no, I don't want this any longer. And of course, then she approached me. Yeah, I was the pick, and there were information that I was like, okay, yeah, I haven't told anyone about this. So,
wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And one of the beautiful things is that the medium, she is actually in one of the books, telling a beautiful story about how she met her soulmate. She traveled across the world. She just knew that she had to go there, and she was guided to the front desk where he was working. It's like an awesome story.
Yeah.
So it's like everything is like getting connecting, and all the dots are just. I just love it.
Yeah.
So that was the shift.
That was a shift.
Yeah, and after that...
Speaking of aha moments, that was a big one. So after that, you had a different view of life and how it works and how everything...
Completely. And then everything went really, really fast.
Yeah.
So I became this involuntarily healer, involuntarily medium, involuntarily hypnotherapist, everything. So I was like, oh my God, what is happening? So I don't really think that I'm out of the spiritual wardrobe yet. But that's everything. That's everything I do, and I can't do anything else. So today I really know the word syftesdriven. Like you just know your life's mission, and you just go, and nothing can stop me. And believe me, I can sense that a lot of things. Energies are trying to stop me in both the big and small, but no.
Fantastic. Yeah. So you could say that there are two Ylvas, but on the other hand, there is only one. Of course, the essence of you was, of course, there all along.
Yeah.
Just wasn't awakened until.
Yeah, collecting the pieces that I needed for my experience. And,
Good to have that experience too, I guess, in this life.
Yeah.
And I can resonate with that because, I've experienced things in my youth that I maybe wouldn't have wanted to experience now, but nothing bad, but still, it's good to have all kinds of experiences and all kinds of,
material
and actually, parts of life and anything.
And actually, one of the first things that you see on my web page is the meaning the sentence, choose to give meaning to your story.
Yeah. Choose to give meaning to your story.
Yeah.
That's profound, actually. So let's talk a little bit about life and health and the world we're living in before we wrap this up. There are some big questions here. We'll see how far we can go. You mentioned before the law of attraction and all that, and that's something that you mentioned many times. I've heard you talk about it in other podcasts and written about it. Do you think that we create our own reality in a way?
Yes.
Or is there an objective reality that we just have to adapt to, or do we create the whole thing or parts of it? What's your view?
Well, I've had so many evidences of what happens when I sort of choose my inner state, and how my day or my life unfolds from that inner state. So if I create a good state, then my day turns out pretty good. And if I'm in a shitty state, then I tend to experience a lot of shit. Mm-hmm. So I'm very convinced that we can affect our lives a lot, in so many ways, and that we create our lives in so many ways.
Yeah,
we have a great ability to do that. But I'm not completely in one truth there. I'm not completely sure how it works still. I've been investigating this for 23 years now, day and night, soul searching and everything. But it's every time I see myself or have the experience that I sort of getting closer to a truth, then I always get kicked back to square zero again, and then I have to start it all over again. So I sort of given up the thing that I have to know the truth.
Finding the whole truth thing, yeah.
Yeah, but I can somehow see it as, I think it's in the shamanism. You have the golden path and the silver path, or the golden book or the silver book or something like that. I'm not sure. Maybe the audience knows better, I hope.
Well, we'll get the answer in the comments.
Yeah, that's beautiful, please. So one of the paths is there are certain people that you are to meet during your lifetime. Yeah. So maybe my children's father, for an example. Some employers, definitely. They've been my great masters in for me to be able to break a lot of patterns within me, for example. So some people, I believe that we have sort of, maybe if we see it as we have a deal or a contract before we go down into this lifetime, we are to meet. And some events maybe are already there in our timeline.
In the blueprint, so to speak.
Yeah.
That we have.
And they are sort of non-negotiable. But one path, I have a great ability to actually create shifts and changes in. And maybe they are somehow connected in a way as well. I'm not really there yet. These are my philosophic thoughts about it. Yeah. But I know that we are able to affect our lives in beautiful ways, and we also affecting them in negative ways if we are in a negative state, of course. Yeah. But I've seen so many evidences in myself, my clients, and
yeah, in a way, you could say that you also create the blueprint that's unnegotiable, as you say, because I mean, the higher version of yourself has probably decided on that before you are born into this life.
Yeah.
But
I can see it.
Well, depending on how you see it.
Exactly.
If you want to see your higher self or the avatar self that you're in right now. But yeah, I get it. I think you're right. And also the thing that you mentioned, the example of the people that we meet, I think that's really clear to me as well. There are so many people you meet. If you're open-minded and you don't close yourself, you just open yourself to whatever might happen.
Yeah.
It's really strange how we meet these people who come to have a real impact in your life and come to be important in your life. And it's quote unquote randomly that you run into these people. It isn't randomly, of course.
No, I don't think so.
But it can appear like that. But then after a while, after a few years, maybe you're, why did I run into this person? This is the most wonderful person I have in my life right now, or something. Or she gave me this job, or I changed my course because of this person. It's really fascinating.
Or he gave me this challenge.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's a tricky one, but it's really important to start realizing that as well, that you need challenges sometime, and
Definitely.
It kind of makes life more interesting, of course. It would be really boring if you just got everything you wanted all the time. Why be here in the first place?
Yeah.
You know, some people say that, oh, she's so lucky. She has all this luck. Everything just comes to her. And then there are other people, oh, she's just so, unlucky. I don't know if that's what you say in English, but every conceivable bad thing just happens to her all the time, and she ends up in problems all the time. I tend to think that that's not exactly it. I mean, I don't think luck exists. I think and this is of course difficult to convey to people. This is a hard sell to say that you live the life that you live in the world that you believe you live in. But I think it might be like that, because people who we call lucky, they are probably more open-minded and less closed, and they realize that they can, go with the people that they meet, and it can be interesting to follow new paths all the time. Whereas people who are more close-minded, they might miss all these opportunities. I was a little bit like that when I was younger. I kind of thought that I can handle this myself. I don't need anybody else's advice or anything. So I kind of missed all these, as we say in Swedish, the fried sparrows flying towards you. It's not an expression in English, but it's like opportunities coming my way all the time that I missed because I was looking down into the ground and just followed my 3D path that I thought I was going to follow. But now I'm more
I don't know even if I knew that expression in Swedish, actually.
Stekta sparvar kommer flygen. No, you hadn't heard about that. Anyway. So that's interesting. So, and what do I want to say with this? Well, I guess I just want to, confirm what you're saying. That,
so like closed-minded versus open-minded.
A little bit like that, yeah.
But maybe, people that have been sexually abused when they were little.
Yeah.
That's like a huge question.
I know.
So then I tend to be in the path where we sort of have some events that maybe we are learning from. I don't know.
Yeah. Those are the most difficult aspects when you talk about these things.
Yeah.
And I can understand that people get upset when you say that you chose your life and all that. It's philosophically tricky, but anyway, we can at least wherever we are in life, we can always, from that point, which is all there is really. I mean, the now moment. From there on, we can always act. Actively. We can actively choose new paths. Every microsecond, we can choose new paths.
Definitely,
we have. Going forward, we have the control. We might not think that we had the control in the past, whatever that is, but going forward, we have our lives in our hands in a way. Would you agree?
Yes, I do, mostly. And I also start thinking about that, like the client work that we often tend to get into is actually like the patterns and paradigms that we inherit from our previous generations and our parents, and that we actually are able to release during the hypnotherapy sessions. That also has a big impact on us.
Right.
So it's such a big
it's
question.
Complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, many layers. Many dimensions. Do we need a holistic health revolution?
Yes.
Do you think one is possible?
Absolutely.
Are we seeing it coming?
But like Sweden, we are so far behind.
Behind who?
Like, for an example, if you look at Germany or
Yeah, that's right.
Switzerland,
Germany
you
is
have
very
a completely different view on holistic care. So in Sweden, definitely, and we are creating the shift. So one of the like the big subjects on the Miracle Day was like mental health, but from
psychiatry crisis.
Yeah, and also to like invite the soul in that work, and that's actually what I missed when I was sitting in traditional therapy myself, because my experience was that it was like a cardboard box feeling of what I had in front of me, and I never had a connection with the therapist. And I learned from that. So the main thing I do is to really create a connection with my clients. And so it was a good experience. But we also had Johan Stiernstedt, a psychiatrist, and he's worked. He has a beautiful experience in the traditional healthcare, and he was telling his view on the same subject, and it was beautiful to hear. So we are creating the shift already, but we need to be more people. So join the event on Oscarsteatern 11/11, and
those of you who can travel from the United States and England or wherever.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I hope we're in for a health revolution.
We
soon.
are.
Thank you.
You have to choose your words.
I know. We are in for a health revolution.
We are the health
people,
revolution.
we are the health revolution.
Yeah.
Both mentally and bodily, and that's the holistic approach. That there's really no difference.
Yeah.
It all goes together.
We're here having this conversation.
Exactly.
It's part of that, and I know you have another beautiful project, and that's also part of that. Right. So definitely, we're creating the shift.
Yeah, you're gonna.
So don't wait for it. Just
more about that eventually, hopefully.
Yeah.
We're speaking of revolutions. We are in crucial times. You have touched on that today, and I know that you also believe that we're in crucial times, and we're recording this actually just after Donald Trump's second inauguration. We're not going to talk about him, definitely not, but it can perhaps stand as an example of things being a little bit messy out there, and things are changing, things are turning around, and maybe things that have been hidden for decades have to come up to the surface.
Yeah.
And maybe it looks ugly, but it has to come up to the surface in order for us to release it and to, get rid of that and begin to build a better world with world peace as the end goal. So how would you recommend people act and react when they find that things are a little bit messy out there? Which they do these days, I think.
First of all, guard your inner state, because we are creating the new world from our inner state. And if you take from the Bible, like the heaven on earth, I believe that is a state, and we choose it every second of our day. And that's where we have the ability to create our lives and a better world. And we do it together. So the more people that are connected in that energy, the better.
Wonderful.
So that was actually what I was practicing during my Camino. I was also doing that during the pandemic. And that was a lot more challenging, because there were fewer albergues opened and fewer places to eat, sleep, whatever. And I just choose trust. So I guarded my inner state. That was my main mission. And I actually had the experience, the feeling that I was walking in another dimension. I was capsuled in this beautiful, loving energy, because I also choose to connect with that energy, the higher intelligence. And I was tapped into that energy. I made sure to be tapped into that energy every moment of my day. And that's, for me, that's why my Camino unfolded the way it did. And I actually inspired people on my way by just being in that energy. And I still have this guy from Belgium, and he's like my biggest fan, and he's ordering the books and I have them delivered to him in Belgium.
And he reads them in Swedish?
Yeah, but he has some sort of app, so he translates them.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it translates it for him. And he had his whole life changed just by changing his inner state, and by that you changed your whole world perspective, because your day and your life unfolds in a completely different way than, like, for me, the shift I had like 20 years ago, something. That's like night and day. And you were talking about, like, now you talked about Donald Trump, but we can have other examples. But and I don't know about
the UFO phenomenon or whatever.
I don't know the truth about Donald Trump either, because there are so many sayings in both directions.
I know.
So, but I do believe that we somehow need, like that you were talking about, like we need sort of like both the. I don't talk about good or bad. Maybe more of like, maybe a bit darker and lighter energies. But we need them both, like in our lives and in the world, to sort of create some sort of movement forward. That's how we make like the shifts, we make the movement somehow. I like that thought.
Yeah, I like it too.
And the more you choose to see the good in the world, the more good we're gonna get.
Wise words. Wise, nice note to end on.
Yeah. And that's, we also go back to the definition of the miracle, like the mirare, like what you focus on. I like that.
Fantastic.
That's how we make create the miracles in the world that we need.
Together we make it. So Ylva, where can now people go to find out more about you and your beautiful work?
On my webpage. It's ylvawegler.se.
Ylvawegler.se, yes. I will put links in the description.
Thank you.
Always.
Yes.
That's the best place to go if you want to find out about
we can
all
also
your
put my email address. That might be easier. Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, we have the Miracle Day. We have the community. We have a Facebook group that you can join if you resonate with the energies that you've been feeling the vibes of today. And also, if people want to share their stories in the books, contact me. And if you want to support the project by buying the books, please do so. You're really important in this time. So thank you for listening and watching.
Thank you, Ylva. It's been a true joy talking to you today, and good luck with your miraculous endeavor to change the world for the better.
Well, thank you. And thank you for inviting me. It's been a real pleasure sitting here and very luxurious, just having this beautiful chat with you.
I agree. Thank you so much.
Thank you.